The laughter cut through the boardroom like glass shattering on marble, sharp and humiliating, and in that single moment a tired single father holding a serving tray realized his entire life had been reduced to a joke for people who had never missed a meal, a school pickup, or a night of sleep. The red walls of the corporate headquarters glowed with power and wealth, and right there, under those lights, his dignity trembled. No one noticed the calloused hands, the sleepless eyes, or the quiet courage it had taken for him just to stand there and breathe. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe kindness still matters and that everyone deserves a second chance, because stories like this remind us who we really are. He had not always been this man, dressed in a borrowed apron, serving lunch to executives who would never remember his name. Years ago, he had been a systems engineer with ideas that could make broken processes breathe again. Then life had tilted. His wife had passed suddenly, leaving behind a tiny daughter who clutched his finger like it was the last safe thing in the world. Grief came with bills, and bills came with choices, and choice after choice pushed him further from his old career and closer to survival. He worked nights, mornings, weekends, anything that paid. That day, catering a corporate strategy meeting was just another shift, another small sacrifice to keep his daughter's world intact. The CEO had arrived late, confident, brilliant, and admired, the kind of leader magazines wrote about. Her team followed her with practiced smiles and silent admiration. When she saw him standing there, balancing plates while her executives waited, something in the room shifted. The laughter began as a spark and grew into a flame, fed by the smug comfort of people who had never fallen far enough to fear the ground. It was not cruelty for cruelty's sake, but something worse, a casual dismissal of a human being reduced to a role. He stood frozen, heat rising to his ears, his mind racing through 1,000 memories of his daughter's face, of promises whispered at bedtime, of the future he was trying to hold together with shaking hands. He could have walked out. He could have bowed his head. Instead, something unexpected happened inside him. As he set the tray down, his eyes drifted to the massive screens behind the executives, displaying charts and workflows riddled with inefficiencies he recognized instantly. The systems were broken, bloated, bleeding money in quiet ways only someone who had lived inside them could see. Without raising his voice or seeking attention, he moved with purpose, pointing out errors, overlaps, and failures in the processes they were so proud of. His words were steady, born not from ego but from necessity. Years of problem-solving, sharpened by hardship, spilled out in a clear, logical flow. The room fell silent. The laughter died. Faces turned, not with amusement now, but with confusion and reluctant interest. The CEO watched, her smile fading as realization replaced mockery. She challenged him with questions meant to expose a fraud, but each answer only revealed more depth. He spoke of systems the way a parent speaks of a child, with care, understanding, and responsibility. He explained how broken structures hurt not just profits, but people, how inefficiency drained lives the way poverty had drained his sleep and strength. The executives leaned forward. The red room felt smaller, heavier, like it was holding its breath. For the first time in years, he felt seen not as a widower, not as a server, not as a man scrambling to survive, but as someone who still had something valuable to give. The CEO's expression shifted again, this time into something like respect, maybe even humility. The power in the room rearranged itself quietly, invisibly, but permanently. In the days that followed, everything changed. He was invited back, not with a tray, but with a chair. His ideas became blueprints. His name appeared on documents. The system he helped rebuild saved the company millions, but more importantly, it restored something in him he thought he had lost forever. Stability came slowly, carefully, like learning to walk again after a long fall. He picked his daughter up from school before sunset. He slept through the night. He laughed again. The CEO watched his transformation from a distance at first, then closer. She saw how he worked not for praise but for purpose, how every decision carried the weight of someone who knew what it meant to lose everything. She learned about his daughter, his past, his quiet resilience. Somewhere along the way, admiration deepened into something warmer, something real. The power gap that once defined their interaction faded, replaced by mutual respect built on shared values and hard-earned trust. The story did not become a fairy tale overnight. There were setbacks, doubts, and long conversations about balance, responsibility, and the scars life leaves behind. But there was also growth, understanding, and a promise neither of them had expected to make. When she spoke about fixing systems, she meant more than corporate structures. She meant people. She meant fairness. She meant never laughing at someone's struggle again. If this story is touching something inside you, please take a moment near the end to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe so more stories like this can reach hearts that are still healing. Just before this story ends, here is a special request for you. Comment the word kindness below if you believe one moment of compassion can change a life. In the end, what stayed with everyone who witnessed that day was not the humiliation or the laughter, but the quiet power of a man who refused to be defined by his worst moment. He fixed a system, yes, but he also reminded a room full of leaders that humanity is the most important structure of all. And somewhere beyond the red walls and boardroom lights, a little girl slept peacefully, unaware that her father's courage had rewritten their future.